careful who referred you, because a few times I have been referred clients from people who saw something in them that I couldn't see, and they didn't want to work with them, but then they didn't tell me that information during the referral. They just wanted to pass on the client kind of thing. And then I take on the client, and then afterwards I'm like, oh my God, that turned out to be, and they were like, yeah, kind of knew that or something, or like, they wouldn't have admitted. You're like, oh my God, why didn't you tell me this to begin with? Hi, my name is Judie Russell, and I'm a video trainer and producer with the Vid Academy.
Hi, my name is Sian Horn, and I am a business and marketing mentor. I teach businesses what they need to know to stay in business. Also the founder of the Club Women's Network and Elite Pilates and bbell.com.
Hi, my name is Jen, and I'm the founder of a paid advertising agency called Lemon 7, based here in Cork.
Hey, I'm Jay Woodard, and I am the creative director at Ad32, a content production house that produces content for SMEs and corporates.
This episode is brought to you by Lemon 7, the marketing agency that your competitors are going to wish they found first. If you'd like to get a paid advertising proposal today, head over to lemon7.ie. Welcome back, everyone, to this week's episode. And this week we are going to be talking about the drama that is bad clients. So we've all had them, and we've all escaped them, and we might still have some, but I suppose we'll kick off with just what pisses you off in terms of like what makes for a bad client for you. And that might be a multitude of different things, and maybe it's from experience, or maybe it's just something you always say no to. But Shan, I'll kick off with you. What kind of, and this might even be just like a bad fit or something like that, but what constitutes a bad client for you?
Well, do you know what? I don't really have bad clients anymore, but I think because I'm very good at picking my clients well, letting people know if I don't think they're right for them and referring them to other people. But back in the day, a bad client would be someone that isn't like me. So, as a mentor, I'd be advising people to do stuff, and then they'd want to meet me the following week, but they just would never do anything that we had actioned. So then it's like, how do I get this person to actually increase their sales and help their business if they won't actually action the stuff that we're agreeing? I don't really work with a lot of people like that anymore because, as I say, at the beginning now, those boundaries are set. And I'm much more flexible in how I meet people. So sometimes actions aren't taken because people are always struggling with time. So I don't always meet somebody once a week. I might say, the action is, and how long do you think this will take you to do it? But yeah, I just think a bad client for me, especially back in the day, and I had to change everything in myself, was people that I didn't think that were getting value from me, to be honest. So it's more of a me problem than a them problem. But that super guilt of taking money off people and feeling like they're not fulfilling their needs and wants. So yeah, that would be my biggest fear, I suppose, when it comes to a client.
Yeah. And what about you, Jay?
It's lack of communication. Like, for example, now I have a client that paid deposit 6 months ago for a project, and I've been trying to get details off him, trying to get this kind of stuff off him, and there's just been no contact. He hasn't got back to text. Now and then he'll drop back in or just checking in. I'm like, I can't move this project ahead without you. I'm also waiting on the invoice. Doing like they've paid the deposit, but like there's still a chunk to be paid that I'm on my books and all this kind of. So like even with the VAT and the invoices, like the whole thing, it's just lack of communication. And then I think, as Shan was saying, not doing what you're asking or doing what you're telling them to do and what you're trying to help them with. Where, for example, now I had one where we agreed on a few different outputs of the deliverables, and then they came back to me saying, this is what we wanted. I was like, well, this is what we discussed in the phone call. And they're like, no, we didn't. That kind of stuff. And just this would be my tip of the episode as well, is get everything in writing. Have everything in writing so you can go back and say, look, this is this and this. I'm lucky where I've only had really one or two bad clients, and I'm kind of, I think it's all in the discovery calls, and you kind of go with your gut. The money's not worth it. The money's not worth it. Like, so whatever they're paying, if you have a gut feeling saying, no, this isn't going to be good, I would steer clear.
Yeah. What about you, Jude?
I would say miserable people, and especially the miseries who are just completely not self-aware and think that your problem is their problem, and don't even realize that they're you know them, they're extremely stressed out. Like they're finding it difficult to manage life, and I have empathy for that totally, but they don't realize that they're trying to shift that onto you and then won't take any responsibility for their own behavior. and it's not just in work, it's everywhere. Like these people are everywhere. And I do feel really bad for them. But like before, when I was younger, I would have, taken them on and then, had to deal with all that. And and nowadays, like Sian said, I just like, if I just get any sense of that energy immediately, I'm like, no. Like yesterday, I had a bit of a thing with a lady. I was basically filming something, and this lady kind of didn't want to be filmed, and it was sprung on her, and so she didn't like that. And then she was like, basically, like, I need full review of all of this, and and I was like, well, that's an internal conversation. It's not really anything to do with me, like, so you're gonna have to speak to the person who's organizing the video. And she's like, yeah, but I need to see it. And I was like, that's fine, but again, it's just nothing to do with me. And like before, I would never have been able to find the words to say that. I would have been like, okay, I'll take your email address and I'll email you on the draft, and I take it as my responsibility to fix her. And then I was like, nah, nothing to do with me. No. So it's just minding yourself, really, isn't it? And
It's learning that is not my job.
yeah,
You know?
yeah, exactly.
I have more of a problem, and actually, she isn't your direct client, I'm presuming, Judie. She's been
No.
told by your client to do whatever. Most of my ags in life and in business in general don't even come from my clients. They come from people that are constantly telling me that one day they're going to become my client, but could they just run something by me? Could they have a quick coffee? Is it possible? Is it just okay if I ask you this question? That fucks me off more than any of my clients. My clients can ask me whatever they want.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think I fall into that category as well, although I've gotten harsher, particularly in the last few weeks. I guess when I was growing out Velocity Growth, I had a team of people who, especially one person in particular, who was specifically hired to deal with my communication woes. Is the best way to put it, because you hire for what you're poor at. And where I fall flat all of the time is like, yeah, no problem, yeah, whatever, yeah, that's fine, I'll do that, yeah, okay, that's grand. And she was the person who'd come in and be like, okay, you did that, I'm going to bill for it. Okay, you did that, I'm going to have that hard conversation. Sorry, they did what to you? I'm going to call them and fire them. Like, she was doing that kind of world of things. And since I've kind of gone back out on my own, I'm almost like relearning this extremely basic skill, almost, where it's like, coming back into the world of being like, no, I can't do that. No, stop doing that. Or no, you can't communicate with me like that. And just kind of relearning my own boundaries, because previously I had someone who acted as my bubble wrap, if that makes sense, where it was like, she had known me, she'd worked with me for maybe 5-6 years before we'd even started Velocity Growth, and I had brought her into that team then as well. So I mean, over the last maybe 10-15 years, I've worked with her for probably 10 of them in some capacity in different companies and things. So she knew me like the back of her hand. So that is a excellent learning curve for me at the moment. But what I'm finding is that, like, a bad client is you do get the gut instinct. I have to stop being like, first call, gut instinct is the truth. Going away afterwards and thinking to yourself, but maybe it'll be fine, is not the answer.
Not worth it.
So no, that's where I'm at the moment. But in terms of like positive experiences from bad clients, and usually this comes as like a learning as opposed to we'll move into the teach me something new afterwards. But what's the biggest learning you've gotten from having a bad client that has been a positive takeaway for your business? Sian, I'll start with you first. Everyone looks like they're really thinking, so it's really hard to pick who to go to first there.
Yeah, to be honest, I think it's that tried and tested thing, and that going back to, when I started out as I've kind of got a 360 circle, actually. When I started out mentoring in business back in 2008, I just started my first major business. So it was a real time thing for me. So I just used to sporadically meet people and they pay me for my time. Obviously in 2020, when my other business closed, this became my first and main role for some period of time. So I, like everybody else, did these packages. And I learned very quickly that actually what I said earlier, the frustration wasn't on them. It was really my frustration. I am an active doer. I am a hands-on person, and not everybody is the same as me. So by listening to what the clients needed, I moved back to that flexible template for them, because meeting people weekly was an absolute waste of time to take their money from them. With the clients that I was working with, they're all, most of them very small business, solopreneurs, so they're doing everything in their business. So to do that one thing that they'd really like to do sometimes needed for me to show them that they couldn't actually and didn't have time to do that themselves, and that would be something that they would outsource. And that takes longer than a week. So yeah, that's what I would have learned, to listen to your people and actually try and accommodate them to the best that you can at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Judie?
I'm always in like trying to learn more about myself, and like, I'm quite self-critical and stuff like that. But like, I think the main thing is like that nobody can make you feel anything unless you choose to feel that way. So like, an email might come in and I might get anxious over it, right? And then, I think we're very quick to go, and then this bitch sent me this email, and then I was like, blah, 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 blah. But like, it's really like, I choose how to interpret that email, and I choose to get anxious over that email. I choose to feel sick if that email makes my stomach sick and stuff like that. And I hate when people say that to me, because it's really annoying. Because like, you're like, but I'm not you. It's just happening, But like, at some stage in life, I think you have to take responsibility for all of your emotions. So this is really hard, but what I'm trying to do at the moment is like catch myself before I get really into that feeling. Sit back and go, okay, I'm feeling this way. And then why am I feeling this way? And it always comes back to something in childhood, or some trauma, or some hidden feeling of unworthiness, or something like that. And then I'm like, okay. And then it kind of separates me from the person, because, they're just flinging shit at the wall and trying to get someone to react, and I don't want to be the shit reacting. So that's where I am at the moment, is like going like, nobody can get to me unless I let them get to me. Instead, I need to understand why this is getting to me and try to deal with myself, and those external factors are actually far more not part of me than I initially thought they were, kind of thing. But easier said than done, guys. Easier said than done.
Absolutely, 100%. What about you, Jay?
I found since I've secured, like, I have 2 major clients now that I've been with nearly a year and a half. That's a long time to have a client for me, like just constantly monthly on month to month. And I found that I'm part of the team. I know their families. I become part of the team. I become friendly with them. I become friends with them. And what I do with that is, I've always found like the power of a referral is unbelievable. So if I have someone new coming, like pure example, I had someone inquire who's based in Middleton, a business. I went to the people I know in Middleton, the clients I have, and said, do you know so-and-so? What are they like? Like, I'm using my connections like that to find out if these people are like, they both said, great guy, he's a great business, go with him. And I was like, perfect, sounds good. But there's been times where like, lunatic, don't go near them, absolute lunatic. And I trust their opinion because I've worked with them so closely. So I think referrals is a big thing, massively. Like, if you know someone, like, go to their LinkedIn, see your connections. If you have someone connected to them that you can actually talk to like that quite bluntly, I think it's golden. And again, as I said, everything in writing.
And I think we have that, like I've like a few times I've come to you and said, this person, and one of you usually does. And it is a great security blanket, because I wouldn't feel comfortable going onto LinkedIn, Jay, and reaching out to someone I kind of know and being like, do you know this guy? I'd be like, I don't know. But with you guys, now I know you so well that I'm like, guys, any news?
Yeah, and it's even to Jay's point there, it's looking in your LinkedIn. There's looking for a mutual connection that you can have a light message to, but the gold is in the looking for the mutual connection where you can ring up and be like, do you know?
Yeah, what is going on?
And dig in, with them.
Like, obviously I can't go on about networking more than I possibly do in my life, but your network is your net worth, end of. Like, but I will say this on referrals, and I know we had a very brief chat about this after the pod last week. There's 2 different kind of referrals, and I think people have to be really careful on this one. So I get referred a lot by people for a chat. When I referred someone, like someone will say to me, Sian, I need someone to do my paid advertising. And I refer them to Jen. Sian, I need someone to do a corporate video. I refer them to Judie. I just refer for people to have the opportunity to make money. But I 100% as a coach and mentor, I get referred to all the time. Sian, would you just mind having a chat with this lady? She's stuck on this. I've said you're the person to talk to. I don't get referred for business. And I've had to start saying, please don't, because I just don't have the time to talk to all these people. And the other thing is, when I refer you, Judie, to do a corporate video, the person will always remember me. They'll always remember that I found you for them. So it's my leverage. It's not actually yours because they didn't find you. I helped them. So they'll always remember that I'm giving them help. So when someone sends people to me all the time saying, can you just have a chat with this person, which takes an hour always, by the way, they are getting the leverage. So they're leveraging my information and my brain in that field. And I'm just like, I want people to stop doing that shit, because refer people to people for the job. Don't refer people to find the person to get the job, because it's just too messy. And now I feel better for saying that.
You're so right. You're so right, though. Like, and you know, when you are helpful, people do that, and I totally get you. And you're kind of like, you almost like, in one sense, feel like saying, "Oh, thanks a million for the referral of my time for free." And you're kind of sitting there going, "What's wrong with this?" So I think you've managed to actually like be able to verbalize that quite well,
And
Sian.
it's really hard. And I say this over and over, you know, my work with the club is all voluntary. I don't make any money. That's where my pro bono is. I can't give out any more pro bono. But honestly now, guys, every week, once or twice a week, Sian, would you mind just chatting to this person? And these people could come from anywhere. And I feel sick in my stomach when I have to say no. Like, so that makes me stressed.
I know someone who had this problem before, and they set up a Calendly link with like, I think it was like $600 or something like that on the link, and being like, yeah, this is my problem. This is my problem. My problem solving fee.
Yeah, I mean, I do have that, but when it's coming from someone that you know through your network, it's really awkward. But and I always feel awful talking about it, and I always feel awful saying, "Look, I'm so sorry, I just don't have the time this week." And then people think you're being mean, and you're like, they have no clue how many hours I give women in business every fucking week of the year, like. So, but I'm just trying to say, referral that's all I do. Is refer people to people. That's my job in my life. That's how my network is so strong. But I don't refer for chats or conversations. I refer for bookings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really important. We're going to teach me something new. Jay, what is the one thing you would say to someone, say, who was starting out their business and wants to avoid this bad fit client, but is probably also in the situation where they're feeling the friction of saying no financially?
I think, as I said before, you get everything in writing, but I think you have to go through the shit. You have to have these horrible scenarios happen to you, so you actually understand the landmines that are about the place. Like every client, like my bad client is so different to Jen's bad client and to Shan's and Judie's. Well, Judie's might be the same as mine, but like deliverables for us, like it has to be agreed upon what the deliverables are going to be. Like, pure example, I did a photo shoot for a fashion brand. There was 4,500 photographs taken on the day. Like, that's standard for a fashion photo shoot for an 8-hour photo shoot. But you're only going to get maybe 250 photographs out of that, maybe, because people are blinking, it's blurry, like it happens. That's the way, that's the world we live in. But the fact of the matter is being that should be communicated beforehand, because I had the client saying, well, you took 4,000 on the day, I want them all, kind of stuff, you know? And you're like, but no, that's not how this works. But again, I thought we were at the stage where they understood that, but clearly that was on me because I didn't have it in black and white. This is how many you're going to get on average. I choose the photographs, we can get edits, this kind of stuff. So like, pure example of that, even the same thing with video edits, they should know what kind of video you're getting, deliverables, how fast, how long, how many revisions they have. And it just cuts out, just be blunt about it as well, because it cuts out all the shit, would be my tip.
100%. Sian, what about you?
I think just it's like a checklist, isn't it? Like, the first thing I'm going to say is shut up and actively listen to what the client wants. Because sometimes people can give us, especially in servicing and create people that are creative, sometimes people give me an idea and my brain goes off on a tangent and I'm like, oh, we could do this and we could do that and let's do this event. And I get so excited. And then I breathe and then I say, what do you think? And they're like, I wasn't thinking of that at all. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes it's just like actively listen. So that's really important. It's hard to keep our mouths closed, especially creative people. Explain your boundaries and set them. Make sure you can solve the issue for them if there is a problem to be solved. If not, give them the right person to do it. It's not always you. And then I suppose maintaining that sort of relationship. So understanding what kind of professionalism they want, because I'm quite casual, I suppose, in my approach. But then, and actually recently I'm organising an event. And when I got the parties together, I went into my event organizer person and they went, oh my God, we've never seen you like that. Do you know what I mean? Because normally I'm quite not laid back. I'm definitely not laid back, but more casual in my approach. But when it comes to organization, then I'm completely different. I just turn into a red and I'm bang, bang, bang. So understand people's levels of professionalism that want. And I think the final one is just please know when to walk away. If you're not the right person for them, you'll know quite quickly. Listen to your gut and give them to the appropriate person. So that's where your network comes in. Know people that offer similar things to you, but are a different kind of person that they might work better with.
Amazing. Judie, what about you?
I would say a few things. I'd say be careful who referred you, because a few times I have been referred clients from people who saw something in them that I couldn't see and they didn't want to work with them, but then they didn't tell me that information during the referral. They just wanted to pass on the client kind of thing. And then I take on the client and then afterwards I'm like, oh my God, that turned out to be, and they were like, yeah, kind of knew that or something, or like, they wouldn't have admitted. You're like, oh my God, why didn't you tell me this to begin with them? But then that's kind of funny. I would also say that I learned about narcissism last year. It was a concept that I thought was like people would just refer to their exes as in a made up word, right? But I actually had to learn like the hard way what narcissism means, and it's a textbook like step by step way of that someone treats you, and it's not just in like love, it's also in work, like, and there are narcissists, and I think like they say there's between 1% and 5% of them, but these people are very strategic in how they approach you, and they'll kind of like, see your weakness and build you up and tell you you're amazing and stuff like that, at the start. Then you're like, oh my God, yeah, they mirror you, they do all the right things, and then they kind of like start then to bring in the things that you're bad at and just drop these, and then it can completely erode you. And since then I've become kind of like, I just love the topic and reading about narcissism in the workplace, and leaders sometimes can be narcissists and that's how they get there and stuff like that. So a lot of people's bosses might be narcissists, but also a lot of people's clients can be as well. So I think like if you're in that situation, like you all said, there's no other option but to walk away. And if your self-worth is low, you might think it's a you problem, but a lot of the times it's actually not. And you kind of just have to close the book. So like I have 3 previous clients who are blocked, like,
Oh, wow.
from all, like, and that's over now 15 years. But there's 3 people that I'm like, and I've bumped into them and I'll chat to them and I'll be grand, but like they can't contact me if they're stuck with something anymore because they have burned that bridge and I will not be that burnt again, So like, I know I'm a bit tough on the difficult clients because I am sensitive,
You're dead right.
and and I'm good to people, and I hope that they'll be good to me. And then when they're not, I'm like, okay, no, like step away from it, So those would be my ruthless tips.
Yeah.
Another thing I thought as well of, like, it's happened to me, but when you're is it the referee or the referrer, whatever that is, whatever the word is there, you have to make sure the people you're referring are good. I've done in the past where like I referred another film person to a good friend of mine at the time who had a restaurant bar, and the guy fucked up he fucked it all up. Didn't get back to him, messed up the whole shoot. Like it was so messy. And my buddy rang and goes, Jay, what the hell was that? Like, why would you refer him? And I was like, he was good for me when I had him for this, so this and this. So you have to have stock in the people you're referring as well.
100%. But even like what you're saying there, Judie, completely side note, but there is I went knee deep into this topic before as well. There's a really interesting field of study where people look at the perfect jobs for people who like fall into categories like psychopath, sociopath, narcissist, and all of the rest of it. And one of the leading professions that they do really, really well at is actually pediatric surgery. Because they can completely separate themselves from having a child on the table that they have to do a really intricate operation on, for example, which is just a random interesting side note where it's like a psychopath will actually perform really, really well when doing like say open heart surgery on a child or something like that, because they can completely separate themselves from the task at hand in many ways, which is interesting. But I think I'm in the same boat as Judie at the moment, where there's a little bit of kind of self-reflection going on, and that kind of pulls into the kind of key learnings. There's a book I'm reading at the moment because for a little while, and I've kind of mentioned it before in the podcast, but after I was diagnosed with autism, I kind of put all my communication problems into the autism bucket, and I was like, oh, it's because of that, it's because of that, it's because of that. It's not always because of that. Like the book I'm reading at the moment is called The Courage to be Disliked by Ichiro Kishimi. And that's actually because I also have a people-pleasing problem that has nothing to do with anything else. So sometimes you have to kind of really dig deep into yourself a little bit to figure out what's going to be a bad fit client. There is the standard bad fit client. Someone who's shitty at paying, someone who says to you, oh, if you don't hit this goal, the project is dead, and their goal is completely unrealistic. They're, communicating with you ineffectively. They're putting immense, no one deserves to not sleep at night about their job at the end of the day. Like if you just take that away as a bare minimum, but then you have to kind of say to yourself, okay, well, once you hit your magic number, let's say whatever that number is that you can feel financially comfortable every month. I think once people pass that, you get into this new comfort groove of being like, I can say no. That's when people can really practice their no. Mm-hmm. I think it's always really difficult when you're kind of struggling to meet your minimum financial kind of starting point. I think that first kind of often 6 months of business for people is really difficult, and it's probably the bad place to start saying no, but the best place to figure out who is your best fit client. So that your goal is that once you've met that financial goal that you need to have, that any new clients that you have from there on out, or anything you need to swap out from there on out, that you have a really good picture of who's a good fit client for you.
The best referral as well sometimes is that one that you've just found. You've just found your perfect client. How often do we ask that perfect client? Do you know anybody else like yourself that I should be working with? I love working with you. It's that ask again that we very rarely do.
Yeah, 100%. Any other tips from anyone?
It's getting to the stage of that fuck you money. Where you have enough in the bank, and the client comes in like, yeah, fuck you. No, I'm not doing. We need to get to that level of fuck you.
Yeah, there is that strategy as well where, a bad fit client comes in. What is your price for that? And it's a strategy that I played with a little bit over the years. But then personally, I found for myself, there actually isn't a price for that stress.
Yeah.
You could pay me 20 grand a month, and I still don't want to be that stressed. Sometimes it doesn't come down to, well, what would you take in exchange for that stress? Put your health first, over anything else.
100%. And I think there's a reason that we all work for ourselves, and it's because we don't want that stress as well. Do you know what I mean? It's stressful enough working for yourself. You don't need anything to put any icing on that cake. So, yeah.
Yeah. I have friends who have huge corporate gigs, easy 6 figures a year. And I'm like, if you took 20 grand less a year and had a smaller role, you'd be so much happier. I mean, so much happier. And that's something to consider. Like, but geez, that's 20 grand off my year. But I think we're lucky we found the balance of my time is actually like, I have things where I like, there's a friend of mine, I won't say, but like he's doing everything. He's doing emails, he's doing marketing, he's doing everything for his business, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, and he's not enjoying it at all. I'm like, get a VA, split up your time, and that way you can have time back for yourself. But no, I don't want to spend. It's like people don't value their time enough. Like value your time. Like you, how much you paid an hour per your job. That's how much you should value your time at. Like at wasting these things. If you're not good at it, pawn it off, like not pawn it off, but get someone else to do it. Like, do you know what I mean?
We
You
can
need to
always
value-
make more money. We can
100.
always make more money, but we can't create time. I
100%.
completely agree. And I'm all about it.
You know
Jane-
what's interesting on the time? Sorry, go ahead, Jay.
No, go on. As you were, I'll give you my topic after.
Okay, I was just going to say there. I noticed this a small bit recently, where people put a value on your time, put a value on your time, and people misinterpret that as a value of themselves rather than a value of their work. There's a small difference there. And when you kind of separate that, and it took me a little while to do that as well, where it's like, if you determine the value of your work being one thing over here and your value of your time is a separate thing over here, it makes it a little bit easier to say no to this because you're balancing it with the time over here. But it's sometimes people tie the value of their work too closely to the value of themselves as a whole, which includes their time and everything in between. So it can be a difficult one for people to navigate. But sorry, Jay, I cut you off. What were you saying?
Fine. I was cursing your name, to be honest, over the weekend.
Oh yeah?
Because
What did I do this time?
at least 7 new business ideas in my phone because I'm about 7 chapters into $1 Million Weekend.
It's so good, isn't it?
I'm like, I'm doing this now. What a great idea for this is. And like, Julie's like, would you just focus on the agents and the production company, just move ahead with that? I'm like, well, we can start this and we can be doing this.
I have a great idea for business for the 4 of us. Maybe we need to talk offline, but I really do. And I've just spent
This is so funny because I just sent you a business idea about an hour and a half ago, and Sian, you're the last person I need to send it to after, but I'll just...
And I read it, Jen, and I was like, that is exactly what I was thinking also. Do you know? So yeah, more to come on this. Watch this space. No, I wasn't thinking
It'll
exactly.
be so funny if it's the same one if Sian, if it's the same idea you have, that'll be hilarious.
Yeah. Does it include a large space? Do we need a large space?
Not for my one, but might be handy.
We need space for my one. So, oh my God. Let's do that.
So much room for activities.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Jesus.
Brilliant. Everyone, that has been this week's episode. And yeah, leave us a like, subscribe, review, especially on Apple Podcasts if you're listening to us there. And if you have any topics or anything you would like to ask us, reach out on our Instagram account. It's at Unbranded. Is it at Unbranded or at Unbranded Podcast? You'll find us anyway if you type in Unbranded. Amazing.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Doses.